Good morrow, you magnificent godling. Thank you for joining me. I'm Colleen Callahan, as you likely know. This is a Magifester Central. I'm an author, fiction and nonfiction. I'm a channel for the Daemon Michael, who is expounding on and adding on to, in our nonfiction works, A Course in Miracles. That's enough for introductions. Our books are all available at crackedpotpublishing.com. I think you will find them not only informative but transformative and a great relief. Necessary adjustment of perspective in this time of great storms of change. I want to thank you if you're a subscriber and you've been hanging in there with me while I get over various catastrophes. I'm in Percocet withdrawals, as you probably know, and nearly done with that process, but I was stung, envenomated really, really badly by the hottest anemone I have ever handled, and it caused a system-wide inflammatory response that required, I had cellulitis, I had to be on 3 different antibiotic prescriptions for a long while. That had, of course, really uncomfortable effects on the rest of my body, and I've been recovering from that. That happened June 30th, the sting, and I have been dealing with illness and the repercussions of my cavalier attitude about that anemone ever since. But I'm getting better now. I'll actually soon be out next week to even get a haircut, so I'll look more of my normal self rather than the wild woman that you hopefully don't expect by this time. Anyway, I really want to thank you for staying with me. I know that people are quickly forgotten in this day and age of so much going on, and I really appreciate you staying subscribed and being happy to receive our next message. It really means a great deal to me. One of the things that I want to speak to you about today is empathy. Whether you realize it or not, you can feel what other people are feeling and thinking. As Michael tells us in Rise in Lucidity and Master Anxiety, there's nobody here but you, and that includes me. You includes me. The thing is that there is one intelligence, the truth is unity, and everything else is just dreams. Now, this does not mean that awakening in the dream of the world causes you yourself, your personal experience of yourself, to disappear or to be merged in eternally into the undifferentiated awareness of consciousness itself. That does not happen. You needn't be fearful of that. But consider us all like mirrors in a hall of mirrors, and the source is the light that enters and is shattered in that hall of mirrors and reflects back vectors of point of view, history, story, individuals. Those vectors reflects that light back, and where those all converge, a consensual world is formed. Okay, so you can feel what's going on with the light in the other mirrors, the other shards. Don't mistake yourself from being separate from them just because you're unique from them. There are no separate individuals here. There are unique perspectives, okay? So if you keep that in mind, and this is really very much in agreement with A Course in Miracles, you realize that our society conditions us. We're having a thunderstorm here, which I love and asked for, so it's good. Society conditions us, first of all, to not trust in our own instincts, not trust in what we feel in our bodies and in our own energetic fields about what's going on with other people. But you can tell, you can feel it when someone has malicious intent, or is deceiving you, or is being less than authentic and sincere, or when someone is, say, keeping something, some intention they have from being plainly expressed and trying to hide it so that basically they can do what they want to do with as little impedance from others as possible. Okay, now empathy is how you are feeling each other, how we experience each other in our own bodies. Now, our society teaches us to give each other privacy and to pretend we don't know what's going on with each other. And people are, to various degrees, bought in on that experience. People who do not experience empathy or claim they don't, usually you'll notice there's, for instance, a loss of facial rapport with them. And just the concept of loss of facial rapport implies that you have felt the feeling of what that's like in an interaction many times, and then seen the changes in the face of the person who's eliciting the response in your body. You've seen those changes, and over time you have made an association between the sensed feeling of there's something wrong here, I'm not getting the whole story. You pair that with the change in the way their face behaves. That's why we have a name for it, loss of facial rapport. We're all familiar with loss of facial rapport. But it is not just something that by itself you learn from various facial expression changes or body language changes. It is paired with the sensed feeling of something being not quite right, something's going on here, okay, many, many times before you begin to actually make the connection and say, okay, I understand, there's something being hidden from me here. When people say they don't, that empathy is toxic, or empathy is a hindrance to humanity, this is rather much like a narcissist. Once they can no longer control whoever is in the relationship with them, they then try to control the way others perceive that individual as a way of controlling them. Narcissists don't want to believe, they don't want you to believe that you can feel what's going on in them and what they're up to, which is often no good for you. Okay, they want you to believe that you can't do that, so that you will ignore your own instincts, your own feelings. Trust yourself. Never let anybody gaslight you. Okay? Empathy is the way we learn to be kind and loving to each other, because we see another person going through something and we resonate with them, and we like adjacent strings on a violin. You pluck one and the others either side of it resonate with it, right? That is empathy. And there's only, the fiddler has many strings, and we are each those strings, metaphorically speaking. So never let someone tell you that empathy is a bad thing, that empathy is foolishness. These are like the narcissists who want to control the way you think about empathy, because these people who say empathy is bad don't want to have to feel empathy. They are wanting to do what they want to do, and they want to be immune from it when they cause others suffering. So they want to say, they want to do it, that's sometimes called not ising it. They just say it doesn't exist, it's not real. If you think you're feeling it, you're fooling yourself, okay? And if you are in fact feeling it, it is toxic, and you should stop doing that. These same people are going out saying, having empathy with other people leads to you not achieving. Well, certainly it leads to you achieving actual profit instead of fictitious profit, which comes at someone else's loss or their expense. So, since that's the kind of behavior they want to engage in, they try to tell you that empathy doesn't exist. There's another, and that if it does, it's toxic. There's something wrong with it. They want to steal that narrative and run with it and characterize it and frame empathy as something bad for you and bad for society. It is good for society, and it is good for you, particularly if you believe your own instincts about what someone else is up to. And generally, you and I both feel in our bones, so to speak, that people who call empathy a bad thing or a toxic thing or a suicidal thing or some sort of a handicap are up to no good, all right? They do not have our best interests at heart. They have plans for what they intend to do to humanity and the world and within the world, all right? And they don't want you to pay attention to the gut instincts that warn you ahead of time of what's coming. We have a lot of examples of that right now in the form of billionaires who are racing to make their artificial intelligence, AI, theirs the strongest, best, and most powerful, because they want to dominate the whole world. They want to dominate humanity. And they don't want you to trust your gut instinct so that you stop the whole AI thing from happening, so that we stop the whole AI data centers. It's also among really political people who are specifically political, who are engaging in various unnecessary and unprovoked aggressions around the world. These people are making money off of humanity suffering. And they don't want to have empathy, and they don't want you to have empathy, because they don't want you to feel sorry for the people that they're making suffer. And they don't want you to be able to trust your own gut feelings that this is going to lead nowhere good, because you will interfere with their agenda. So I'm here to encourage you to please trust your instincts, because the more you trust your instincts and listen to the still, small, wordless voice of your higher self, your holy guardian angel, the more you listen to that, the better, and follow its instructions, the more and the better, the more you'll hear it, the more clear the signal will be, and the more certain your actions will be when you take them. The more you will feel confident in them, and that they certainly will come to much more frequently productive, helpful outcomes. The problem is with a lot of these people is that they don't want to have that come to Jesus moment, come to Yeshua moment, where they have to admit to the witness within them, the higher self, that they have done great harm, that they did it for money and power, and that they did not care about the suffering they were causing because it got them what they thought they wanted. Okay? They don't want to see that, because once you have seen it, once you have been honest and bared yourself to that still small, wordless inner voice, you cannot unsee it. There is nothing more punishing and more conditioning to make you circumspect than to see disappointment with you in the eyes of someone you love. To know that you betrayed them, to see them knowing that you betrayed them, to feel the feeling of the gut punch that they're getting when they have that realization. It conditions you to never so disappoint those who trust in you again. And these people who are not here for your good, they're here for their good. They may tell themselves the other story. I'm doing this for the good of humanity, all right? But they don't know what's good for humanity. They do know what's good for them, and that's what they're following. That's what they're pursuing. No matter how much they protest, they're trying to help humanity. They are not. And they do not want you to trust your instinct that tells you this. Trust your instinct anyway. Please. All right. I think I have about worn you out now. I think you understand what I mean by empathy. I think you understand and who I am basically gesturing towards when I hold up these examples of people who purport to be trying to do good for the world, who are actually just doing good for themselves. So, despite the fact that that is what they're doing, I want you to stay in touch with your empathy, with your heart, so that you know that these people who think that they are getting profit because they don't even know what profit is, all right? As Yeshua said, what profit it a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Real profit benefits everyone, not making a few wealthy and powerful so that they can control everyone else. And people who feel the drive to do this are actually very sad, damaged people. I want you to stay in your charitable thoughts about them. I want you to actually exercise thinking of these people when they were little children and their hearts were pure, and they had not yet been so damaged that they could behave with such disregard for the suffering of others. Hating them will only perpetuate the problem. This is why Yeshua tells us to pray for our enemies. Pray for those who abuse and spitefully use you, okay? It is not for the one that you're praying for that you pray. You pray for the sake of what it does to your field, to your vibration, to the way you, as a vector of the light, can look upon the world through the lens of the story you're telling yourself. Because if you're telling yourself a story that everyone is always doing the best they can with the skill set and understandings they have at the time, then you create where our vectors converge in that agreement. We create a consensual world in which everything is forgiven. Because even these challenging individuals who think along the lines of Ayn Rand, okay, even these challenging individuals function as a whetstone, Okay? They sharpen us. They sharpen our perceptions, our faith in our own inner guidance, our willingness to be our most authentic selves. Now, does suffering for another person become not helpful? Yes, if you suffer to the degree that for another person, that you become dysfunctional and you're not able to be helpful in the world and to pursue your own well-being, then you're handicapping yourself. Certainly. Am I saying to befriend these people if you get the opportunity who want to basically lord their power over you and force you to do things and buy things so that makes them richer? People who want to lie to you and deceive you while they conduct genocides? No, I'm not saying invite them in for tea and embrace them fully, because it's not about what you do toward them. It's about how you change your story, your lens, so that the vector of light that shines through that lens helps to create a world where we can rise into co-experience of that love, of that empathy. I know that's the kind of world I want to live in, where we have each other's back, where we encourage each other, where we comfort one another, where we recognize each individual as a gift and a piece in the puzzle, the box top of which shows us the image of paradise in which we could be if we would all commit to using contemplation, otherwise known as prayer, to shape our self-talk, to sharpen the lens, to be the vector of light, shining on a new and gracious experience in the world. So be it, I am. This is the way we move each other forward. Team, thank you again for being here. Please please share the video. I really need your help. Channel is just not growing. I'm not getting any closer to this ever being able to support me. Please go to our store at Crackpot Publishing. That's another way you can support us. And look through the books there and buy something either from the fiction or nonfiction or from the music files that we've created to help you have lucid dreams, waking and sleeping. We truly do love you all. I wouldn't be here still if I didn't. Together, in empathy, we create the grand picture we all aspire to. The greater self expressed in love, while we simultaneously look away from what we do not will to find. And in that way, we will put out that pesky little eye.